Welcome back to Dynamic Canon. Today we are going to look at the dynamic work classification feature, and I'm going to explain the second use case which can be used in warehouses for this feature. So let's dive in. So the feature I want to talk about today is how we can update the work pool ID and the work priority dynamically based on the pick zone ID of the location from where you are picking. So imagine a scenario where you are in a warehouse where you want that if you are picking from zone 1, because that's the most important zone. As an example, the work priority should be 10. If you're picking from zone 2, work priority should be 20. If you're picking from zone 3, work priority should be 30, and so on. So dynamically, we can write this in the Power FX formula in this feature, and then system will automatically update the work priority. Now we'll see there are some catch to this, which I will explain in the demo later on, but we can also update the work pool ID. So as an example, if I'm picking from a zone 1, then my work pool ID should say zone 1. So no need to make those complex work templates. We can dynamically do all this without creating those work templates, right? So let's dive into the demo. Before the demo, let's take a look at what the scenario would look like. So this is how a normal work looks like. We have a work ID, and then what we want is that by looking at the locations from where we are picking, system should identify the zone ID of these locations, and whatever is the zone where they belong should become the work pool ID. Then the second scenario is based on my work pool ID, I should be able to define automatically a work priority. So all this is dynamic. Starting point is the location, its zone ID comes to the work pool ID, and based on the work pool ID, we can update the work priority, right? So this is a scenario which I was working with, and I've done this in my past implementations a lot. So I thought, why not now try this out using the new feature, and it works pretty well. So let's dive into the demo and see how we can achieve this scenario. So there you go. Before going to the demo, the location will push the work priority, and we will get the zone ID updated. These two fields normally are populated from the work template, but in my case, I'm not going to populate them from the work template. The dynamic work classification feature will push the values, and I will show you how we can do this. So let's look into the demo. So now we are in Dynamics. Let's take how we can achieve this feature. So first, we will go to Dynamic Work Classification Rules. This is where we write the rule, which will dynamically update the work pool ID and the work priority based on the location zone ID. So I've created a rule, which is this one. And here you can see that I've given it a name, then a description. The rule scope is work and initial work lines. Now, what does this mean? The rule scope is simple. If you are only playing with the work header, that means you need to read the work header information and update the work header only. Then the rule scope should be set to only work. But if you want that the work header or the work lines data should be updated based on work line tables data, then you need to use work and initial work lines. Now, in my case, in this use case, I'm going to look at the pick location zone ID, and based on that, I'm going to update my header for work pool and work variety, which are sitting on the header. But the header will get updated by looking at what is there on the line. That means the zone ID of the location. So I'm using the rule scope work and initial work lines. Now, if you see my work line formula down over here, I've written a Power FX formula that if the zone ID is zone 1, then make the work pool ID as pick dash zone 1. If the work line has zone 2, that means the location belongs to zone 2, then the work pool ID should be pick zone 2. So basically, this is an instruction, the Power FX formula. System will identify that this work has the first location as zone ID, and then it will update the work pool ID like this. Important thing, for this to work, we need to make sure my work template is doing work header breaks by zone ID. I cannot mix all the zones in one work and ask this to work, because then there will be all the 10 zones in my work lines and then which work header to be updated. So it will not work that way. So we all know I need to break my work header by zone. So one zone is one work and all the lines belong to the same zone. So if it is zone 1, I will get the work pool ID as pick zone 1. Easy peasy, right? I'm now trying to do something smart on top of it. And that is, once my work pool ID is updated by the work lines, I want that my work priority should also be updated by looking at the work pool ID. You cannot update the default work priority by using the work lines data. There are restrictions to what fields can be updated. So I can update a header field, which is work pool ID, by looking at work line zone field, but I cannot do the same thing for default work priority, which is also a header field. So you cannot do that. So you need to play around, and that's why I'm writing a header formula. Once the line section will update the zone ID, sorry, the work pool ID, then I will pick the work pool ID and I'm going to then use it to push the work priority. So for me, as an example, the zone 1 is closest to my outbound dock, and that's where I store my fast moving items. So I want the default work priority to be 10. The zone 2 is slow movers, default work priority 20 as an example. I don't want to create work templates for all these combinations. One work template is enough, right? So now you have seen how this formula will work. This is how I've written it. In the recalculation, I've said reclassify the work on load update. So this is important. You will see this later in this video, how I'm using this. Okay, so now we have seen how to use this formula. The reclassification schedule ID is of no use at this stage. Microsoft has confirmed that this is for future use. So we are going to get some really cool stuff where we can do a reclassification once the classification is done. So basically, one after the other kind of a thing, because they also have given a option over here, but none of this works at this stage. Okay, so now let's take a look at, because I have set up the reclassify work on load update. That means even if once you have done the classification, anything changes on the load, reclassify once again, run this formula once again. And this is interesting because this truly makes it dynamic, because if you are changing anything on your load, system is reevaluating the classification immediately. Very nice. I like it because it's no more static in that sense. Now, I have enabled the parameter which allows for synchronous load updates, which is over here. So dynamic work classification on load update, and I've set it to synchronous because I want system to dynamically update once again if something changes on the load, right? And you will see this later in this video. Now, what is the work template I have set up? Let's take a look at the work template, and you will see there is only one work template which I have created, and the only thing is that I have selected the work header break, that please break the work by zone ID. Okay, so if there are 10 lines and they belong to 2 zones, how many works we are going to get? 2, because all the lines which belong to one zone will be in one work and the rest will be in the other one, right? This will make sure my formula is respected. If you don't do this, then this will not work, right? This is the new field which is added to the work templates. And now I'm saying just use the zone priority classification rule for the work template. And this is the same rule which I have explained you earlier, that it is going to look at the work line zone ID, and based on that, it will update the work pool ID. Once the work pool ID is updated, I'm going to look at the work pool ID and update the work priority. Exciting. So that's it, easy peasy. The setup, the main trick is how to write the Power FX formula. It's a learning thing, but as I shared in the earlier video, also my experience with AI has been horrible with the Power FX formula. Okay, now let's jump into how it will work. So I have already created a load, which we can now release and see how system will behave. So I have created a load 134. Let's take a look at the contents of this load. There are two sales orders, 911 and 912, some items. None of them are released, so work not created yet. So now let's simply release the load. Works will be created, and let's see how the classification will happen. Important thing which I wanted to show you, I forgot. If you go back to work templates, you will see there is no work pro ID set by me over here, and there is no work pool ID set by me over here, right? So this explains that whatever values you will see in the work pool ID on the work are not coming from the work template as they used to come in the past. Okay. So now another important thing, the work pool ID is a master. Normally, to be able to work with the work templates, you were required to update the master, which used to help you to select the value. But with dynamic work classification, you don't require it. So as an example, pick zone 1, if I delete that master, and pick zone 2, I delete that master. So even if the value does not exist in the master, system will still update the work pool ID, and that's cool. So you are really eliminating few setups which are not required anymore. This is a key setup for smart classification. Okay, now let's go back to the outbound load planning workbench. Let's select our load and simply release it to warehouse, which will generate the work, and we will see what classifications are done by the system, because we are not using any legacy features to classify the works. We are using dynamic work classification, as I've explained. So release to warehouse is a success. I've got a success message. Now, if I go to warehouse management and all work, wow. So you can see some works are created, and you can see they belong to the 911 and 912 orders, which belong to the same load. And you can see the magic. The work pool ID is updated. So this work got a work pool ID pick zone 2. Why? Because if you go inside the work and you check the location, this location belongs to zone 2. So because this location belongs to zone 2, dynamically the Power FX formula identified it and used it to update the work pool ID. You see the magic? And similarly, um, this work got pick zone 1. Why? Because if you go inside and check this location's zone ID, you will find this belongs to zone 1. I just love this feature. Now, it's so cool because now you can make smart dashboards immediately. I have done no setup one work template, and it's already giving me two work pool IDs. Just imagine, I've worked in warehouses where recently I was able to set up around 57 work pool IDs, work templates, and I can see all those getting eliminated with just one work template, right? That is so easy for support and so easy for maintenance. Just save the Power FX formula somewhere and you know it will work, right? So now you can make smart dashboards out of this. How many works we have for big zone 1, and then you can use the work pool ID, as you know, to filter the works on your mobile devices also. That is a topic for some other day. But now let's continue. Now, another thing which I'm not sure caught your attention is the work priority. Work priority is still 0. System has not updated anything. And that's the tricky part I was referring to earlier in the video. So normally when I was playing with this formula in my initial setup, it was working. But what I've noticed lately that now it is not working, that once the pick zone one work pool ID is updated, it's not updating the work priority based on it. But if you now look at the preview, which is an option to see if my formula is working, And if you select the recently created works, let me put set to A. Let's take 370. And if I preview, it works. System says that if you use this formula on this work, the work pool ID will be given as this, and the work priority will be 20. Why? Because if I pick from a location which belongs to zone 2, the work pool ID will become pick zone 2. That is fine. And once the work pool ID becomes pick zone 2, the work priority should be 20. So the preview is showing that my formula is technically correct. But when we release, it's not working. And the reason could be on how the code is sequenced, because first the work line is running, it is updating the work pool ID by the time the work header query has already, the work header classification is already done. The value was blank by then it was done. I do not know. But trust me, when I was testing this initially, the same formula was working. Okay. But I don't know. I will get this checked in the backend why it's not working, but I think the reason is the same, that the timing is different when you do it in the real time. Preview is a flat check. It is not simulating how the code will be executed. That's what I'm thinking, but I will confirm this maybe later on. So my preview proves the formula is right, but the work priority was not given. Fine. Many companies, once they release the works, then they go and update the load. And then you would want that the classifications should happen once again. So to prove that point, I have enabled the reclassify work on load update. And now if I go back to all my works, you can see the work priority is 0. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the load 134 and I'm going to confirm the appointment just to simulate that I'm updating something on the load. And this will rerun the classification for all these work. Okay, so right now the work priority is 0, work pool ID is set. Now I'm going to update something on my load ID and system will now run the classification once again. Let's test it. So if I go to my load, I would simulate an appointment. Many companies do that after they've released, just as a step to acknowledge the commitments with the carrier. And I will form this and save. Okay, so the update is done. Now if I go back. So the work priority was 0. If I now refresh, boom, the work priorities are updated using the same formula which is sitting over there. So the pick zone 1 gets a work priority 10, the pick zone 2 gets a work priority 20, and so on. And I can write even more smarter formulas which would have looked at the type of items and give the priority based on it, right? Or some other field on the header, some other field on the load line, appointment line, load header. So there are a lot of tables which can be used to define your own formula. So the opportunities are, I won't call them endless, but a lot of scenarios can be achieved if you smartly try to use this. So we have seen now how system is dynamically giving the work pool ID and the work priority. These two fields are now updated, and they were updated by the dynamic work classification rule, a single rule which helped us achieve this. Now, if you use my use case and extend it to a 100 zone warehouse or a 200 zone warehouse, you simply are simplifying a lot of your setups in the work templates, easy to maintain and easy to fix, right? And reducing a lot of support issues also. So yes, I think I have covered what I had planned for this video, which was to give you an idea about how we can dynamically use the work classification rules to update the work pool ID and priority. There are some glitches. I feel maybe I'm wrong why the work header did not work, but time will tell. It's still a production preview, so it's still not fully there, but you can cautiously use it in production. That's what production preview features means. I would advise companies to use it in their UATs, copy your production database to UAT, and then try and play with this to see how the results, do some simulations. It is really a powerful tool. So that's it for this video. I have seven, eight more use cases, which I'm very excited to share. So the series will continue. This was the series two. If you have not watched the first video, you can check in my channel. You will find it there. And I will upload more videos for dynamic work classification rule use cases. So thanks for tuning in and bye.